Yeah, he's faster than you. Did you play golf with Bill Thibodeau anywhere in May or June of '94?
I don't, certainly not June. Maybe I played with him once in May. I'm not sure.
Did you tell him about plans to throw a birthday party for Nicole?
Not in May, I wouldn't have, no.
No time in May or June of '94, right?
Not in May, I wouldn't have, no.
And not in June either, obviously.
Well, her birthday was over at that time.
And did you tell Bill Thibodeau that Nicole is just ripping you up, or words to that effect?
No.
Tearing up your insides, nothing like that?
No.
Did you have any conversation with him about Nicole?
No.
Have you heard him say that?
Someone told me that he was saying that.
Do you know why he's saying that?
No, no.
When we left off the first round of your deposition, I was coming to the subject of you were watching this movie Garp with Kato Kalin.
Mm-hmm.
You heard Mr. Kalin testify about that, correct?
I don't recall exactly what he testified, but yes.
On Saturday, June 11, you were watching TV with Kalin for a while in your house?
Yes, I believe so.
And this movie Garp came on?
Yes.
And there's this scene where someone's performing oral sex?
Yes.
And at that point in the movie, did you make any comment about Keith Zlomsowicz?
I doubt it, but it is one of my favorite scenes. Not only when I read the book, but when I saw the movie.
You mean scenes in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you and you've seen that scene many times, right?
No.
But whenever you've seen that scene, do you think of this incident with when you observed
I think that's the only time
Nicole performing oral sex on Keith Zlomsowicz?
I don't think so. That's probably the only time I saw the movie since that incident.
Oh, that day in your house?
Yeah.
And did you say anything like that to Kalin?
I don't believe so.
But you're
I
not
don't
sure?
think I discussed Nicole's personal thing with Kato.
That incident?
I don't believe so. I don't ever recall discussing that incident with. It wasn't something I talked about a lot.
Did you ever discuss that incident with Kalin on
I don't
any
recall.
occasion?
I don't recall ever discussing that with Kalin. I know he was at the house in the '93 thing, but I don't recall discussing that with him. No.
Did you have a photograph of Nicole under your bed?
They say I did. Yeah.
Do you know how it got there?
You know, the picture I saw at the foot of the bed, I don't know how. I do recall once taking a picture off our bed stand, putting it under the bed when Paula was coming to the house after we got back together. Because I got so many pictures in my house, I'm not aware of pictures, but women are always aware of pictures.
When you broke up with Nicole in May of '94, did you take any pictures down in your house?
I'm pretty sure if there was a picture next to my bed, once Paula came over, I probably slid it, you know, if I'm in bed and Paula's coming, I probably got rid of it some way, shape, or form.
I think you put it under your bed.
I could have done that, yes.
And did you take out or remove any other photographs of Nicole?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you make a deal with a tabloid magazine or with some independent company for money in return for pictures of you at Nicole's gravesite?
No.
Did you ever enter into a contract that had such a provision in it?
There was a contract that they wanted something like that, but I told them I wouldn't do it.
Did Skip Taft sign such a contract on your behalf?
I don't know.
That's with the company that sold the photos to the Star, right?
Yes.
And how did you find out there was such a provision in the contract?
Well, at one point when Skip was going over...
You don't have to talk about anything that relates to Skip.
Okay.
Any conversation you had with Skip.
All right.
I'm going to ask him about such a conversation. You're not going to let him answer that question, right?
True.
Okay.
You're going to ask him about...
I'll ask him about another Skip Taft conversation. He mentioned it in a public statement. Finishing this off, though, you didn't. Did you authorize Skip Taft to sign such a contract?
Well, when you say such a contract, or do you
What's the
mean that
contract?
included?
Yes, I mean that.
That included?
Included a provision where you would get money for pictures of you at Nicole's grave.
Well, don't answer that. That's irrelevant to any issue in this case, in any event. But he's already answered
Goes
that.
to consciousness of guilt. Anyway, you want to answer the question?
No, he's not going to answer the question. That is a quantum leap, I'll tell you. Petrocelli on evidence
Did you
is a
sell
short
any
book.
pictures of you at the gravesite?
No.
How many times have you been there?
Don't answer that.
Well,
It's
you
irrelevant to any issue.
You discussed this on your video.
So what? Does that make it relevant?
Well, he thought it was important enough to put on his video.
Don't
He's made
answer
a
it.
statement out there. The video was done with the cooperation of attorneys of record in this case on your side. I think I'm entitled to ask about it.
No, we disagree. Don't answer it.
Okay. When you were informed of Nicole's death in Chicago, did you call your lawyer and ask him to go to your house and go to Nicole's house?
Well, don't answer that question.
Well, he said this on national television.
I don't care what he said on national television.
You told that to Roger Cossack and Greta Van Susteren, didn't you? And I asked you those questions in the deposition, and you wouldn't tell me. So would you answer the question now?
No.
On what ground?
Attorney-client privilege.
How can it be privilege? He waived it.
By saying he did it doesn't waive the content of the privilege. You can ask him if he did it.
Okay. Did you call your lawyer and ask him to go to your house and Nicole's house?
Well, no, the content. All right, go ahead, ask.
Yes.
Since it's in there.
Okay. And who was the lawyer?
Skip Taft.
And before Skip Taft picked you up in Chicago, at LAX with Kathy Randa, do you know whether he had gone to your house?
Now that calls for attorney-client communication.
Well, he might have found out from Randa or someone else.
If you found out from Randa, you can answer the question.
I didn't find out from Randa. No.
Did he go to Nicole's house?
And you can not answer that if the only way you found out is from Skip.
I can't answer that.
Do you know, when you arrived in Los Angeles, back from Chicago, had Kathy Randa been to the Bundy property? Do you know that?
I don't know that.
Had she been to your home in Rockingham?
I think so, but I don't know that for sure.
And what did you ask her to do at Rockingham?
Nothing.
What clothes did you...
Nothing.
Thank you. What clothing did you put on when you left Chicago to go back to L.A.?
We've been through all of this.
I started off with some jeans, and I ended up before I left with some black pants and a white shirt and whatever.
Before you left the hotel?
Yeah, I changed before I left the hotel.
Okay. So when you left the hotel, you had black pants on and a white shirt, and you stayed in that outfit all the way
Yes.
until you got to the rest of the evening, right?
Yes.
And you never changed your clothes, right?
No.
You mentioned something to Greta Van Susteren and Roger Cossack that I want to follow up on, make sure I understand, and it concerns the buzzing of your gate at Ashford.
What page are you on?
It's on page 24 of this transcript of the show, and as you're talking about Allen Park, and you say, he called me on 2 occasions at that time. You don't buzz my gate. My gate is not a buzz gate. He could have pushed it 8 times. The phone is going to ring X amount of times and stop. It's not a when you push the button, the gate buzzes. It doesn't work that way. I don't know if the prosecution ever took the time to figure that out. It just doesn't work that way. What did you mean by the gate not being a buzz gate? I don't understand what you were saying there.
It's not. When you push the button, it doesn't buzz.
When you push the button at the Ashford gate, what happens? Your phone
You,
rings, right?
you mean
Phone
from the
rings.
exterior of Ashford and the button outside
Yes.
of the Ashford driveway door, or driveway gate, rather.
There's a button and there's a little speaker phone there, right? Not a phone, but a little speaker
Speaker.
outlet?
Box, yeah.
Speaker box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes.
And there's no telephone or anything, right?
No.
And when the person presses the button, does that person hear anything from pressing the button?
I don't believe so.
The only thing that person might hear is the phone ringing inside your house, right?
Possibly.
Okay. And if that person, when you pick up the phone and talk, the sound comes out of a little speaker box, right?
Correct.
Now, if that person wants to talk back, can you just start talking and you'll hear?
Yes.
He can only hear, however, once you have picked up the phone receiver, right?
Correct.
He can only speak, I mean, once you, and be heard by you once you pick up the receiver, right?
Correct.
So if he starts talking right away, you won't hear anything in the house, right?
That's right.
Now, when the phone rings in the house, does it ring exactly like an ordinary phone call?
I believe so. Maybe a little different, but it basically is the same.
And if it rings and rings and rings and you don't pick up, it'll just continue to ring until he stops, right?
No, I think it may ring 8 or 9 times and stuff.
And then it won't ring anymore until you press the button again?
Yes.
And you may have told me this already, but when you want to let him in from your telephone, what do? Upstairs in your bedroom?
Push a number.
Push a number and then the gate can open, right?
Yes.
How long will the gate remain activated such that it can open?
I don't understand the question.
In other words, if he's on the phone and you're pressing the button, he has to get off or get out of the speaker box area, get into the car.
When the gate opens, there's no timer.
When the gate opens, it stays open?
Until you push the button to close it.
I see. It doesn't close automatically, right?
Correct.
What didn't the prosecution figure out that you were referring to?
That my phone is not a buzzer.
That your phone is not a buzzer,
Yeah.
as opposed to a normal ringing phone, right?
Yes.
Okay. Who were the 2 or 3 witnesses that you were praying they would put on the stand?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I don't recall. Maybe we'll see.
Kato was one of them.
Excuse me?
I don't know. Maybe I'll be refreshed in this trial.
You do recall, but you don't want to tell me?
I don't recall.
Actually, you do say, and these guys might put them on the stand, I guess referring to us, right?
Yes.
So let us know who you're talking about, and maybe we'll...
Don't bother,
I
O.J.
don't recall.
Okay. Did you know about any calls Nicole made to a battered woman's shelter?
No.
Had she ever spoken with you about a shelter?
No.
About Sojourn?
No.
You also said to national television audience that there was no doubt in your mind whatsoever that the answer to these murders are in the world of Faye Resnick.
Yes.
Now, tell us what you know that leads you to that belief.
That she's lied to about so much, I should say, since this thing is over, and I can't believe that a person would lie the way she has for no reason. She claimed her life was in danger early on, which I guess it was, and she claims her life is in danger now. Certainly not from me, but I wouldn't be surprised. But when a tragedy like this hits, and a person starts changing the truth and lying to the police or to the prosecutors, to me that's a consciousness of guilt of some sort. And I just noticed that what I thought the bizarre way Nicole was acting seemed to somehow be related to Faye Resnick.
Is that the only thing on which you base your conclusion?
Yeah, lying, the way she's been lying so much, I think that's pretty good.
You don't know of any witnesses to the murder, do you?
No.
Okay. Has anyone ever told you that the killer or killers were somehow related to Faye Resnick?
Told me that they were? No.
Yeah, or had something to do with Faye Resnick?
No.
Do you have any other information other than the fact that she lied in her book?
Not only in her book, she seemed to lie everywhere. She lied under oath to you guys, from what I gather. So, that's probably more than anything.
Do you know who she was buying, excuse me, do you know who she was purchasing drugs from?
No.
Do you know of any confrontation that she had with any drug dealers?
Know of firsthand?
Yeah.
No.
Or secondhand?
Well, I've been told about something that happened in San Francisco once.
When?
I guess before she moved to L.A.
What year?
I don't know.
Early
I have no
90s?
idea. Before she moved to L.A. is all I know.
What happened?
And once again, this is rumors. I'm as bad as she is, maybe, with this. That a friend of hers was murdered, and her husband at the time, or Hutchinson or Hallaby or something, they both got out of the country, ended up in Australia. And when things calmed down, she came back.
Did you ever talk to Faye about that?
No, but Nicole evidently did, because Nicole was the first person to tell me that story.
Is that the only way you know that, from Nicole?
I don't know, since that time, I think I read where some ex-boyfriend of her, or the guy that she was having an affair with, went on some show and talked about this, all this stuff happening.
Faye was admitted to a treatment center on June 9, right?
I don't know, but I'm told that, yes.
Yeah. What did she lie about in her deposition?
Don't answer that.
You said she lied in her deposition.
He
What
said
did
he
she
thinks
lie about?
he's not. That's irrelevant to any issue in this case, and he's not going to answer that question. What his opinion of what her lies are.
It's not his opinion. He said she flat out lied.
The only way you could tell when Faye Resnick was lying is when her lips were moving. So that's our view of Miss Resnick.
Do you agree with your lawyer?
You don't have to answer that, and you don't have to agree with me or disagree with me. But we're not going to get into that.
Do you know? Excuse me. Do you know if anyone spoke to Nicole after she came back from Messaluna on June 12th?
You mean you had a conversation with her?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know any of her movements or activities after she returned from Messaluna until the time of her death?
No.
Have you spoken to anyone who said he or she spoke to her during that time frame?
No.
Have you spoken to your children about their mother's movements or activities in the home that evening?
No.
You ever spoken to Sydney about it?
No.
You said something on the video, perhaps in the burden of proof interview, about Sydney's last observations of her mother.
Yes.
You said that Sydney heard her mother crying. You recall that?
Yes.
How do you know that?
It was in a police report.
I see. The only knowledge you have of Sydney's observations is what you read in the police report?
Yes.
And you have never once spoken to Sydney about that evening?
And never will.
And,
Until she wants to when she gets older.
and you've never spoken to your son Justin either, correct? Okay. Have you, since you were released from prison, done anything to track down the real killer or killers?
Don't answer that. It's irrelevant to any issue in this case.
You made a statement, or a statement was read on your behalf following your acquittal, that you would devote your life's work to finding the real killer or killers. Is that right?
Correct.
And what have you done in that regard?
Well, you don't have to answer that.
Have you done anything?
You know, he doesn't have to answer that. That has nothing to do with this case.
Well, I disagree. You're not going to let him answer?
No.
Did you sleep at all on the plane going to Chicago?
I may have dozed, but I wouldn't call it sleep, but I may have dozed for a while.
Were you, were you, quick Phil, were you, were you agitated?
Come on, you've enough. You've enough. 7 days is enough.
Were you agitated or nervous on that flight?
No.
Okay. Now, when I questioned you about your calling the house that evening on June 12th, I believe you told me that Nicole answered the phone and you said, let me speak to Sydney. And the phone was handed to Sydney and there was no conversation at all with Nicole. You recall that?
There was no conversation with Nicole, that's correct.
Now, when you called Greta Van Suster, you said, is Sydney asleep yet? Nicole said no.
No, I said, is Sydney asleep? And she handed the phone to Sydney.
Well, the transcript says she said no.
Well,
Is that correct, or did she say no to you?
that's probably incorrect. She handed the phone to Sydney. And she may have said no and handed the phone to Sydney.
I see. You asked the question, is Sydney asleep yet?
Yeah.
Or did you say, can I speak to Sydney?
I believe I said Sydney asleep yet.
And what's now your best recollection?
I believe that would be the best recollection.
And what's your best recollection of what Nicole said or did?
She handed the phone to Sydney
With no conversation.
with no conversation.
And Sydney hung up the phone and without giving it back to Nicole?
Yes. Well, I assume she was in Sydney's room, but Sydney was in her room.
Excuse me. You heard Denise Brown testify about an incident at the Red Onion where you grabbed Nicole's crotch.
Yeah, I believe we talked about this.
I didn't find it in the transcript, but let me just ask you,
We
did
did.
that occur?
No,
You never grabbed her crotch, right?
no,
At any time, right?
no.
You're saying no, you mean correct, right?
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever talked to Sydney about whether she observed any incidents of abuse,
No,
or your son Justin,
no,
at any time?
no.
Was there an incident in, withdrawn, do you recall an incident in Cabo in April of 1994 where you were flirting with a woman in a restaurant and Nicole got upset?
No,
That never occurred?
never occurred.
Okay. Mr. Simpson, I want to focus for a couple minutes on the Rockingham property and on 3 specific time periods. The first being 6/12/94, and then the second time period, the time that you were shooting the videotape. All right? You awake?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes,
You okay to go on?
yes.
Between those 2 time periods, has there been any substantial changes in the foliage of the property?
I'm sorry, between when I shot the video?
6/12/94, when you shot the video, has there been any substantial changes in the foliage? Have you had any plantings, any changes to the foliage of the property?
Okay. Since the 6/12 of 94 to the video that was shot this time,
Yes.
I would think that it's a lot thinner. That I can tell you specifically is it's a lot thinner along the southern portion.
By the pathway?
Yes.
Okay, was that thinned out under your direction?
No.
Okay, was that through the gardener?
Evidently.
Okay, and you didn't have any discussions with the gardener about thinning out that area?
No.
Any other foliage that changed during that time frame?
My whole property seemed to, when I got back, seemed to be changed. I mean, stuff was growing where it shouldn't have grown, and flowers weren't blooming. Yeah, you know. In general, yes, I think it would look not to be as kept up as it was when I was around.
Between the same time frame, were there any changes that were made under your direction to the foliage of the property?
No. I mean, once I got back home, I made some things I wanted him to try to get some color back and to cut some of the trees that were growing through the tennis court fence. And the tennis court was basically being overwhelmed.
Okay. Were those changes made prior to the videotape being shot? The 1-800-OJ-TELLS videotape?
I don't think I don't think the tennis court shows on the 1-800 videotape.
Okay. The areas of the property that are depicted in the 1-800-OJ-TELLS videotape, are those areas substantially similar at the time that the videotape was shot as of 6/12/94?
With the exception of the south pathway?
Yeah, with the exception of what you've already mentioned.
In
In terms of just the foliage now.
I can't tell. It just seemed it was better kept when I was around than it was when I came home. There was areas that we normally had flowers or roses that there weren't any.
Okay.
So,
With respect to the operation of the Ashford and Rockford gates, were there any changes between 6/12/94 and the shooting of the videotape to how those gates worked?
how they worked,
Yes.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so what's depicted in the videotape as of the OJ-TELLS videotape in terms of the operation of both gates is the same as of
I mean,
6/12/94?
how you could, I walked out of the Ashford gate then, but, I'm sorry. I walked out of the Rockingham gate, which I obviously could have disengaged the controls back then. So basically, as far as I know, the basic mechanisms are the same.
Okay. The operational aspects of the gates, the Ashford gate and the Rockingham gates, were the same at the time that you shot the videotape as of 6/12/94?
Yeah, the ability to operate them various ways, as far as I know, is the same.
How about the lighting outside on your property? Not inside, but outside around the property. Was that substantially similar at the time that you shot the videotape as of 6/12/94?
With the exception, obviously we're in December and there's Christmas lights up, and 6/12 is June.
Yeah.
Let's talk about permanent lighting rather than,
Thanks.
transitional lighting like Christmas lights.
I believe the security has beefed up lighting.
Okay. Well, was there nighttime filming? There was nighttime filming in the videotape, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were the outside lights activated at the time that the nighttime filming was done?
I think where the lighting was beefed up was you couldn't see from the footage of what you were looking at. I don't think they impacted that.
Okay. The nighttime filming that was done, were the outside lights activated during that filming?
I think the coach lights were on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any other lights that you're aware of that were on during that filming?
Exterior?
I'm just talking about exterior right now.
That you can see on the video, I don't think any that wouldn't have been operational then.
Okay. So the lights were substantially similar as of the videotape. Strike that. The lights were substantially similar as of the time of shooting the videotape as compared with 6/12/94. Correct.
The lights that you can see on the nighttime shooting, those lights that are visual, I think, are similar and the same. There are other lights that has been beefed up in other areas of the property, but I don't think they come to play on that. The only nighttime video I recall is the show that you can't tell what lights are on in my house. And from what I can see on that, the lights are virtually the same.
After 6/12/94, was there any change in the wattage of the coach lights, make them brighter or less bright?
I can't say for sure. I do know inside the house there was.
Well, how about the coach lights? Did you, were new lights put in under your direction that added more brightness or more
No.
wattage?
No.
Okay, the new lights that you're talking about that aren't necessarily depicted on the videotape, were those lights? Exterior lights again? I'm
In some
talking about.
trees, focusing on what the security feel is vulnerable.
I'm sorry, one more time?
In some trees and focusing on some areas which the security people think my property may be vulnerable from.
Okay. Are these in the back of the house, the side of the house, or in the front?
In all areas, I believe.
Okay, including the front?
Yes.
Have there been any new structural changes, have there been any structural changes since 6/12/94 to the shooting of the videotape? And what I mean by that, where you've had some change in some new structure put up, or a change in the garage, or change in the inside of the house, or something of that nature?
Other than some bamboo, some what they call bamboo sheeting that we have up now, so the looky-loos can't see through. I think they put a solid board on both gates. So before, where you can see through the gates, you can't now.
Okay, is that permanent or temporary, the bamboo?
The bamboo hopefully is temporary, but who knows?
Okay. How about the benches in front of the front door? Are those still there, the
Yes.
two benches?
Yes.
In the same position?
Yes.
Now, you've described the locks, the various locks throughout the property, indicating that there was a master key that you had, and that the rest of the locks were controlled by individual keys. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is that the same at the time of the videotape as it was as of 6/12/94?
I don't know.
Well, were there any changes made to the locks under your direction?
No.
Okay, so presumably they'd be the same, correct?
I can only, it would only be a guess on my part.
Would you have any information that the locks were changed after 6/12/94?
No.
Any changes to the, now again, I want to go inside now and talk about flooring. Any changes to the flooring since 6/12/94 and the shooting of the videotape?
I'm sorry.
Any changes to the wooden flooring inside the foyer area
No.
between 6/12/94 and the shooting of the videotape?
No.
Any changes in the carpeting that go up the stairs between 6/12/94 and the shooting of the videotape?
No.
Interior lights, any changes in any of the interior lights? And I'm not talking about changing light bulbs to increase the wattage, but where you've had new lights put in between 6/12/94 and the shooting of the videotape.
No.
Okay, has there been any change in light bulbs inside your home where you've increased the wattage in any particular room?
Yes.
Okay, what rooms did you have lights put in that would increase the wattage?
I think I've increased the wattage in all my lamps.
Was that done for a specific purpose?
No, I don't know. Maybe just to show the lamps off a little more, no specific purpose.
Was it done for a specific purpose in relationship to shooting the video?
No.
Was it done all at the same time?
I don't know. I don't know if it was done I'm sure it was done while I was in jail.
Well, do you have a specific recollection of having that done under your direction?
Under my direction, no.
Okay. Why do you think that was done?
I think because people were just in the house, and when lights go out, and a couple of lamps, I would only burn 1 or 2 bulbs in them because they burn all night. And I think people aren't aware of that, and when they change in bulbs, they see they're all out, they put all new bulbs in.
Okay, are you assuming that when they put new bulbs in, they increase the wattage of the bulbs?
Well, they put more bulbs. I don't know about the wattage of the bulbs, but most of my lamps, I will only burn, they have room for 4 to 5 or 6 bulbs in the lamp. I would only burn 2 or 3 bulbs in the lamp. And evidently during the course of changing lamps, they put more wattage in those lamps.
You said a moment ago that there's some lamps that you burn all night. Is that a practice that you follow, burning particular lamps all through the night?
Yes.
Okay, what lamps are those?
My entry lamp and a lamp in my kitchen.
So those are on all night long. You turn them off during the day?
Yes. Normally, yes.
Are they on a timer?
Now they are. They weren't before.
Okay, when did they first go on a timer?
I don't know.
Well, were they on a timer as of 6/12/94?
I'm not sure.
Did you put them on a timer for security? Strike that. Do you burn them all night for security purposes?
No, I wake up every night and walk my house, and so it keeps me from turning on lights.
Okay, so you need some illumination in order to walk around your house?
Yes.
Because otherwise it's...
You could without it, but, it's easier to have it.
Is there any light that comes into the house, any artificial light that comes into the house that would provide some illumination if you didn't have any of the interior lights on?
I think any lights, I don't know if it provides illumination. I can walk around my house with no lights on, and if all my outdoor lights on, I can, I'm not going to trip over a couch or nothing.
Because of the illumination provided by the outdoor lights?
To an extent, yes.
Okay, those are lights on your property.
Yes.
Are there any lights, street lights, lamps off your property that provide illumination into your house that would facilitate your seeing as you're walking around?
I wouldn't be able to tell. I wouldn't be able to answer that.
And you have no recollection with respect to whether these lights were on a timer, these all-night lights were on a timer as of June 12, 94?
None, no.
The practice of your sometimes walking around at night, is that consistent with the entire time that you lived at Rockingham?
Yeah, I don't sometime. I always take at least one walk around my house at night.
Because you're insomnia, you can't sleep?
No, I check on my kids. Look out at the dogs. You know, take a leak. It's just always been my practice.
Does the dog normally sleep outside,
Yes.
Chachi?
Yes.
How about in inclement weather?
Yes. I open the garage door.
And you leave the door open, or you shut the garage door?
No, I leave it open.
There's been a lot of discussion relative to some gates along the south pathway. There's essentially two gates there, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And the first gate, if you were to walk around the garage and then head in an easterly direction along that southern pathway, there's a gate that Mr. Kalin described as having to pick up and kind of move to the side. You recall that description?
I recall that description.
in June, or is they presently up?
Are those gates, was that an accurate description?
I don't know if it's an accurate description. I recall where the gate might have been, yes.
Is there still a gate there today?
I believe so.
Okay. When's the last time you were along the southern pathway?
All the way back the southern pathway.
Well, crossing past the garage and then heading easterly through these two gates that have been described.
Maybe a month ago.
Okay. Did you have to walk past two gates or open two gates to
I don't recall.
walk back there?
I don't recall if the gates were open or not.
Okay. Have you made any repairs to any of the gates along the southern pathway since June 12, 1994?
I don't know what state of repair they were in then, so I can't answer that.
Okay, well, you would know whether you hired somebody to come out and make a repair to the gate, wouldn't you?
No,
You wouldn't know that.
no.
Okay, have you ever picked up the phone and contacted anyone to come out and make a specific repair to any of the gates along the southern pathway?
No,
Have you ever asked anyone to do that on your behalf?
no,
Have you ever been told that that was done on your behalf?
no.
Is it your understanding that the first gate that we're talking about that Kalin described as having to move aside is in the same condition today that it was as of June 12, 1994?
I don't have an understanding one way or the other on that.
On those occasions where you had to go back along the southern pathway, do you recall having to, in a similar fashion as described by Mr. Kalin, pick up the gate and move it aside to walk in an easterly direction?
I don't have no recollection of that, no.
Do you recall it being a chain link type of gate?
I believe if there were gates there would be chain link type gates.
Mike, let's take a break. He's getting tired. Oh. Any problem with that?
None?
We are going off the record now, and the time is approximately 3:33. We are back on the record now, and the time is approximately 3:48.
Okay, Mr. Simpson, we're focusing on a time period between 6/12/94 and your shooting of the videotape. We've gone through a number of items where I've asked you whether there's been any changes. And focusing for the moment on Kato Kalin's room and the interior of that room, were there any changes in the layout or configuration of that room between 6/12/94 and the microphone? And the videotape?
I'm not in a position to answer that because I hadn't been in that room in so long previous to that date. So I can't tell you. I can't answer it.
Well, you've seen photographs that were introduced into evidence at the criminal trial of his room.
Yeah, but the bed's in the same place.
The picture on the wall to the right of the bed, is that still in the same place as of the shooting of your videotape?
I don't recall. I don't think so, because I don't think so. I don't know about as a shooting of the videotape. As a shooting of the videotape, maybe. I don't know. I just know that other pictures are up right now.
Were there any changes made to the interior of his room under your direction?
I don't believe the interior is. I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Well,
Not to my direction. I don't believe so.
Any part of his room, exterior, interior, any
What?
changes made into your direction?
Maybe they got a new bedspread. Maybe I do know now, but I believe it's since the video, that there are different pictures and things in there. So I am aware of that. But as of the shooting of the video, because I wasn't aware of what was in there before, and I can honestly say, whenever pictures came up of Kato's room, I never really looked at it. So I can't, and I hadn't been in that room in a tremendous long time before Kato, before that date. Since Kato lived in there, I hadn't been in there. And
You've more than answered the
yeah,
question.
so I don't know.
Were there any specific changes that you're aware of with respect to the interior of Kato's room that were done specifically for the videotape?
No.
You mentioned a moment ago about a couple lights that you leave on through the night. Where exactly are those lights located inside your house?
One's on a built-in desk type thing in the kitchen, and one is on it's no longer an armoire, sort of a sideboard in my entry.
In your entry? Any other lights that you have a custom or practice leaving on through the night, other than those two?
Sometimes I'll leave. No, that was basically it. Yeah.
Are there lights that from time to time you'll leave on through the night, other than those two?
Time to time, yes, but those are basically the lights.
Okay, other lights that you leave on purposely throughout the night from time to time?
Those are two that I leave on. There's one other one that sometimes, since I've been home, I might have on from time to time.
And where's that light located?
In my TV room, it's a lamp on a table in my TV room.
What would dictate your leaving that on through the night?
Depending who's staying in the guest room and how active they might be as the evening goes on.
Okay. How about, excuse me, how about Arnell's room, either the interior or the exterior between 6/12/94 and the shooting of the videotape? Any changes that you're aware of?
Shooting of the video, were there rooms in the video?
I'm just asking whether there are any changes made to the room.
More than likely they were, but I don't know, because I didn't go out there, so I don't know.
Between, strike that, at any time after June 12, 1994, did you direct that any repairs be made to the window outside Mr. Kalin's bathroom?
No,
How about outside Arnell's room?
no.